dears, I'm Johanna Takunis and I welcome you to the Deconstruction of C-PTSD podcast. In this episode, we talk about why do I feel so lonely? This is a topic I keep running into no matter where I'm going. And there seems to be a huge lack of knowledge, understanding, and a lot of spreading of misinformation and abusing the lack of information. So let us talk about it. This episode, I'm trying something else, so please let me especially know your feedback. In society at the moment, there seems to be this enormous debate about loneliness and people being so lonely, and that is rather surprising given there's so many ways to connect, be it social media, phoning around the world is now easily possible, and you can chat with everyone and even have groups for your neighbors, and still, people are lonelier than ever. And if everyone is so lonely, how can that be? Like, shouldn't they be able to group up somehow? Or it's not like there's a group and another group is lonely because they're excluded from the group. So how can there be no solution? Now, I want to preface that it is completely normal to feel lonely while you are mourning a loss. Especially, of course, if it was a close, dear loved one. You are missing something that was there, and therefore it feels lonely that this thing isn't there anymore. That shouldn't be an intense feeling of loneliness. If that is the case, it is recommended to get help for the mourning process, or if you are still suffering from it after 3 months. But of course, we will also talk about how we stop being lonely. This podcast has always been a solution-oriented podcast. And you can achieve that all by yourself, if you want to. Which is kind of ironic given the topic, I will admit. We first get into lonely alone, then the hole inside, then how it escalates, then how loneliness spreads, and then how to stop it. Now, before we really get into it, let us first establish the difference between lonely and alone. You can be in a group of people and be lonely, and you can be alone and not be lonely. Loneliness is a state of disconnection with other people, no matter how close or far they are. And loneliness is the hole inside of you, this yearning void that nothing seems to be able to fill it, even if you try it with food, alcohol, drugs, and so many addictions. Which leads us to what is this hole inside of us? What is this missing piece? There are a lot of feelings involved in all of this, especially the feeling of being incomplete and faulty. Because why are we not full? Why are we not complete? Why is there something missing? Now, usually this hole was either always there, because it was never fully constructed, and therefore it could never have been full from the first place. Or it is a hole created by a lack of maintenance, which means it used to be full, but because you neglected and didn't do certain things, it became wider and wider until it became no longer ignorable. In this context, I would strongly recommend Jigsaw by Daniel Sloss. It is an excellent comedy special about this exact topic and explains it very good and how it affected him, how it led him to an unfortunate situation, and how he came to his own conclusion and came over it. I can only strongly recommend it. I think you can find it on Netflix, for example. The hole is the reason you feel lonely, and there are many aspects, of course, to it. And one of the main one is that the hole is also the reason you can't fully open up to other people. And the big one of that one is shame of feeling incomplete. That feeling of being faulty and not really a full human being, maybe even not deserving of a partner. And also, most often, can't really find a way to express who you are and seem to be missing parts. And if people can't fully get to know you, there's no chance for deeper bonds, because they require the sharing deep emotional moments, vulnerable moments, and moments where we go deeper into each other's personalities. Additionally, the whole causes the feeling of loneliness by itself. Even if the other factors are not present, it will still fill you with a feeling of loneliness and makes you feel very vulnerable. And if you cannot be vulnerable to other people, it leads to inability to connect and even more loneliness. Because we can only connect with other people if we let our guard down and be vulnerable for at least a tiny bit of time, in the hope that the other person doesn't use this ability to harm us. Trust is the hope that the other person won't harm you by giving that person the opportunity to do so. Another problem is that if you're lonely for too long, that you can't connect with other people anymore. Being able to connect with other people is like a skill. You need to hone to keep it. And the less skilled you are, the more likely things go wrong, get misinterpreted, and opportunities get missed. And the worse things get, it makes it even more unlikely that you will succeed in communicating and connecting, and makes it also more unlikely that you will try again. This often leads to people becoming preemptive with rejection, so it doesn't hurt as much if they reject it first. But that is often usually just an act of self-sabotaging and making things worse. And then if you add depression to the mix, it makes it even more unlikely to things going well and you finding the energy and willpower to change anything. Which leads to the spiral that makes you even more lonely. Because you feel vulnerable and lonely and incomplete, which makes you raise your voice in defense. Like, for example, with the preemptive rejection. But the more your walls go up, that makes it harder for other people to reach you. And you connecting to anyone or anything. That makes you feel even more lonely and depressive and vulnerable and isolated. Which makes you make your wall-ups go even further, and that even makes you more lonely because you're even more isolated. And so on and so forth. It is a vicious circle, a spiral that keeps on escalating until you actively work against it. With all of that leads us that we are making each other lonely. As we just established, because of these walls, it makes it harder for others to reach us and for us to reach others. So what often happens is that people stop trying to reach each other or connect with another and just make their box where they are completely isolated. And if everyone making their box, then it's just this landscape of boxes next to each other, with everyone being lonely and everyone getting more lonely. And quite often these people attack other people if they are not lonely, because they are trying to make an effort, because they are trying to break the silence and isolation, be it out of jealousy, fear, deflection, pain, or often an act of self-fulfilling prophecy. They are so afraid of being rejected that they attack the person trying to reach out, that they confirm their own fears, which is an act called self-fulfilling prophecy, which makes these people more likely to stop connecting. And then these people who are not lonely and are able to connect create these islands and defend them from new people because they want to defend themselves from these attacks which were completely unjustified. Hurt people will hurt other people. And this principle leads that we're making each other lonely, which leads to loneliness spreading, because islands will get smaller because of no new people were joining, and by nature of things, people will fall off. So they get smaller and smaller until they no longer exist. And because the majority of people will be lonely, there will be greater catering towards these people. And since they're so shy of connecting or worried about being hurt in any form of connection, there will be adjustment made by society and businesses to accommodate them. For example, sex toys for men, so they can have that physical connection they yearn for, but cannot form the connection with another person to really get it. Dating games usually for women, so they get this romantic experience and the connection they yearn for without having to connect with other people who might hurt them. And now, of course, the newest trend, the virtual partner, who thanks to AI can even hold conversations with you, just like you wanted, without any risk of getting hurt or anything unexpected happening, who will never leave you and say just what you want to hear. And so on, be it food, delivery, watching experiences, getting somewhere, getting things done, anything really. And it all leads to getting worse. People are more lonely, and this leads to people getting more depressed, and which also leads to people having less energy to change things and breaking the habit. We are a social species that requires social interaction to function and be happy, and to develop and to keep our brain healthy. That doesn't mean many social interactions, but we need them in any way, shape or form. Dogs and animals can be a band-aid, but we thrive best with other human interaction. With all of that also means that not only loneliness spreads, but also depression, which leads to apathy and the decay in nation, in situation around them, the community, and so on. And all of that, and especially the depression, will make you believe that you're not even able to connect, that something is wrong with you, that this is how it should be, and there's no point in changing it. But how do we stop feeling lonely? Now, the good thing is that only you are required to stop feeling lonely, nobody else. Now, other people's support is going to be helpful, but it's not required. You usually feel lonely either because you never knew really who you are, not the picture that others have of you, not the society view on you, but who you truly are. Only you can know it. Because no one spends as much time with you as you, and no one has all the information like you have it yourself. Or the other version is that you feel lonely because the hole in you is because you no longer know who you are. That happens when, life happens and you don't really have time for introspection because so much is going on. And then suddenly you change. And since you didn't revisit yourself and see what has changed slowly, you didn't keep track of it and suddenly everything is different. That's like returning to a community or game after being away for several years. Everything is suddenly different, while still being very familiar, and it will take some time to get familiar with everything again. But if you don't regularly check up on yourself, you become more and more a stranger to yourself, and you suddenly find yourself doing things or acting in ways you didn't expect yourself to act. That is especially true in your 20s, which is pure change. Less so in your 60s. Nonetheless, it is really important to regularly revisit yourself and check who you are. Because in the end, how can you be connected to yourself if you don't even know yourself? Truly know yourself. And the key to stop feeling lonely and being able to connect with yourself again is to fill this hole, which I went into greater detail in episode 154 and 155. But it is basically about rediscovering or discovering who you are. By asking questions like, why do you like that? Why do you do that? Why do you prefer that? Why do you dislike that? Why do you like that person? Why do you like that trait? And so on. And very importantly, do you still like that? Do you still want to do that? And so on. And while a road trip or disappearing helps with removing distractions, it is not needed or necessary. It can actually distract you and, in a state of being away from everything, tune out what is really needed to be heard, which can no longer be heard in the absence of your own environment. It is really just about the many little things you missed out on or which are a part of you. You, like a jigsaw puzzle, are actually just many, many little parts that make together a big picture. That is you and all of you. And how does filling the hole make you feel better? The more the hole is filled, the better and less lonely you feel. Because if you are disconnected with yourself, you are lonely when you are alone, because not even your own self is truly there. Only an image of it. And an image is a horrible company. But if you restore yourself piece by piece, just like a jigsaw, until you can see the full image. Additionally, knowing yourself makes it also easier to express your interests and search for like-minded people, and doing things you really want to do. Not things you expected to like, not things you think you should like, but things you actually like. And lastly, but definitely not leastly, it reduces depression, increases self-confidence, improves life quality, and besides all these benefits, it does even more. It reduces depression, increases self-confidence, improves life quality, protects against trauma, protects against abusers, and so much more. The list is endless. The benefits are enormous. And compared to the benefits, the work needed is almost neglectable. And how do we do it? Well, to give a short answer, by asking questions. Or more precisely, by keep asking questions. And how to start is rather simple. You keep asking yourself why you do something. Why do I eat eggs in the morning? Why do I eat this version of eggs? Why do I wear pants? Why do you wear pants in this shape? Why do I dress in this color? Why do I have this item in my room? Why do I eat this vegetable? Why do I cook this way? Why do I listen to this music? Why do I listen to this artist? And so on and so forth. Or why do you like a hobby? For example, why do I like woodworking? Is it because I work with my hands? Is it the sounds? I like the results. I like the smells. I like working creatively. I like working with nature or close to nature. Now, the start is always hard and a bit confusing. It can be very challenging to answer, especially first questions, because, it's usually, why do I do it? Well, because I do it. The questions might appear very silly and stupid at the start, but it is really important, and by answering it and keep trying to answering it, you get the answer you're looking for, and it usually doesn't work the first try. It's okay to just pick it up. I'm not finding the answer. Drop it. Just that easy, and just pick up what comes across of you. Whatever it might be. You don't need to immediately know the answer. This isn't a test. Just try to keep finding the answers. And eventually, you start cracking it. And then answering more questions will be so much easier. Additionally, the more pieces you collect, the more adjacent pieces get unlocked. and you process even further. It is really like, in some ways, progressing in a game. You unlock an area, and then through that area, you unlock more areas and discover more and more of yourself until you unlock the whole map or complete the puzzle. Now, in reality, it would never be 100%, and you will have to revisit now and then. But even if it's not 100%, it makes that hole disappear and helps uncover other damages, because while you find these pieces and put them in place, it will also show you bad pieces, rotten pieces, and rotten areas. Because if you keep asking questions, you will automatically run into them. These can be minor, or they can have full traumas under them. But the more you have uncovered of your puzzle means also the more stability and energy you have to face these struggles. And the more you are complete, the more you are also willing to explore new things and grow as a person and expand as a person and become the best version you could possibly be and attract a partner that is similar and has the same level of perspective and growth and size as a person, who treats you with respect and has healthy boundaries and a healthy, stable behavior, who makes you feel like you are enough and gives the stability so that life can be an adventure, who makes you feel safe and builds a home with you. And also, the more energy and complete you are, the more you have the best shot at happiness. Because most importantly, you will now also have these healthy boundaries, because you know your worth, who you are, and you know you will be fine without your partner. You will be fine on your own and never truly lonely. That was it for today's episode. I hope you found it helpful and that you're well. And as always, if you have any questions or feedback and the like, please let me know at contactme@johannatakunis.com. More information and transcript you can find, as usually, under johannatakunis.com, and links are in the description. You can also find me under @johannatakunis on YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram. I hope to see you next time. Stay safe, take care, and have a wonderful time. Thank you for watching. If you liked it, please leave a like and subscribe. Let me know what you think in the comments, my socials, or a message.